and welcome to the Bachelor Politic. I'm Scott Stearns.
This is Paul Sickle.
Paul, anything in the news as of
I'm
late?
a little overloaded right now.
As we have been these last few years.
If you see me drooling, it's dribbling out because I've been drinking water from the fire hose every time I read the news today. It's been a little much. We had a big debate for the Democratic primary last night.
Yep.
Well, we had some big rumblings at the local level that are going to intersect with the Wisconsin Democratic primary
for sure.
As well.
Next spring.
Some interesting stories about the convention were released in the paper. We got a new Marquette poll coming out.
It's coming next week,
and
I believe.
We got the Republicans trying to undermine democracy every day in the Wisconsin legislature.
Yeah.
Never mind Trump. Might be able to put Trump to shame. I'm not sure.
There's a lot. There's a lot to cover.
Else.
I guess we start with the debate. So last night we had 12 candidates on stage for 3 hours.
Stand back, the water cannon is got the news.
3 hours is just a lot of time, man. I couldn't.
That's not really a water cannon. It's more like a slow drip of the faucet.
I couldn't watch it in one sitting. I had to watch it in two. I wanted to watch it, for the purposes of talking about it.
I watched parts of it. I didn't really watch all of it. I thought it was a 2-hour debate, though.
It could have been if there had maybe been a few.
I thought they started at 8 and went till...
Well, there's all 10. That. There's the lead-in coverage and there's a lead-out, so it's really more like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, you're like doing it like officially, the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl at 5 hours pregame.
Officially on your DVR, it's 3 hours, But I don't know. I mean, it's your takeaways. I mean,
I still use a VHS tape to record it all. No, I'm sorry. That's Uncle Rick. It's Uncle Rick. He's still spooling it.
Not a Betamax.
Yeah, and that's why he can't make it tonight. And he's looking for talking points against the Democrats, but
his rewind was failing.
Yeah. So there you go. See, the thing about the debate that I liked was from what I saw.
Yeah.
And what coverage I've seen so far is it doesn't appear like they gave Uncle Rick and the rest of them too many talking points this time.
Okay.
It looks like I thought they were solid. I really did think they had one of their better performances as a group.
I think so. I mean, I think Bernie actually had a decent debate coming off of the health scare.
Yeah,
I think he actually looked pretty good. He
was very magnanimous and thankful to his colleagues.
He looked better than Warren, to be frank. I mean,
she was shaking.
Well,
which made me wonder if she had an underlying condition herself. But then as the night went on, she got better, actually.
I think it's just the knives are out for her because she's the de facto front runner. Yeah, because
you saw, though, her shaking earlier in the debate.
Everybody's kind of coming for her, and she's just she's looking at 11 people that are standing around here just waiting for an opportunity to just nail her.
She did hit some of the late questions, I thought, really well. I don't remember all of the rhetoric, but I thought it was pretty strong.
Well, they keep on trying to get her to have a soundbite that could be used in a campaign commercial about raising taxes relative to Medicare for all.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. See, that's what I fucking hate about these primary debates. Also, Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete.
He was really strong with his interplay with the other young...
He went after Beto for a while.
He went after the younger candidates, which I liked.
Yeah,
you know what? Clear that lane out, though. Clear the lane out. Get rid of the other young one. That's smart. As someone who's around their age.
That's true. That's true.
Because you've got the old people. Tulsi was kind of alluding to how old they were, and Klobuchar, the people in the middle who seemed like appropriate presidential age, like Kamala Harris and what's her name, and Booker, and those guys are so boring. Castro is kind of close in age. He's just one liberal, performative platitude after another.
Right. Did he mention Obama, the fact that he worked for Obama last night? I didn't catch that, actually.
Are you joking? No, I don't know. I mean, honestly.
I actually don't remember.
He worked for Obama, but then he's more left-wing. Virtue signals that, he's more left-wing than freaking Bernie Sanders.
Right. But, but you bring up Mayor Pete, and I think that's an interesting case study in what's going on with this primary. So, reportedly, he's surging in Iowa. That's what it looks like, polling-wise. He's kind of the one to watch. And since they go first, if he manages to pull out a victory there, then it kind of upends things a little bit.
And it makes sense. He's from Indiana.
Yep.
It's Iowa. I mean, and they're both red states. Iowa to a slightly less degree, but it's still, I would say, more conservative than Wisconsin. And
yes.
Wisconsin right now is probably the closest thing to the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
For the getting over 270 anyway.
Right. But, if he pulls out Iowa, then you got New Hampshire, and, maybe he has a good showing there, but it probably favors either Warren, Bernie, or Biden, just given the geography of it. And then it goes down to South Carolina.
Those guys could just carve that thing up, though, so it's worth very little to each. What if he comes in at really strong fourth, where it's literally 20, 20, 20, and 20, and 19 or whatever, 20, 20, 20, 19. He gets 19 after he wins Iowa by 5 or 6 points.
Yeah,
I mean that could be lightning in a bottle. Then the question is, can you go down to South Carolina and Nevada and make things happen?
Right. I mean, on the issues. His big focus in terms of going after Warren and Bernie is the Medicare for All issue. Mm-hmm. I come back to I think it's a valid argument that Warren and or Bernie running in the general on the idea of eliminating private insurance. Now, yes, you can't say that 150 million plus people are completely happy with their private insurance, but if you're going to run a campaign and allow your opponent to run a campaign on the idea that you're going to take away their health insurance, well, I mean, what you're proposing may be better inherently, but it's always going to be the fear of the unknown with voters. They don't know what's on the other side of what you're proposing.
So this is where I'm going to beg to differ. I think that you're talking about a nuance that won't matter in the general. I think the things that will matter in the general is I do think Bernie, with health problems and saying he's a socialist for his whole career, that probably won't work. Whereas I do think Warren, who talks about how capitalism has a place, I do think that could work despite her having opinions that will drive elites, people in business, really mad, and it might make people a little uncomfortable. You can scare people with the insurance, but I think she can fight back.
But what I'm saying is it's just something to keep an eye on because it is a potential vulnerability for Warren because she's come out.
It is, but I think that's a little bit nuanced. I think that...
I don't know about that.
It might be... the other thing is she probably can tack back to the center a little bit on it as well.
As the support for Biden kind of diminishes, which it has...
Joe who? Wait, did he used to have a big job?
Yeah, I think so. I think he used to work for somebody high up.
Yeah, okay.
But as his support goes down, I think the beneficiary of that is going to be Pete.
Yeah,
because
I think so too.
When you look at the calendar, and I know we've talked about the fact that Wisconsin is kind of down ticket because it follows Super Tuesday, which is more stacked than ever. But so you have Iowa, which if Pete can't pull out Iowa, I think it's probably done for him. But if he does pull out Iowa, or
second place would work.
Right, he could be the comeback kid, right? That whole thing. So if he has, let's say, a good showing in Iowa, a surprising showing,
as long as he keeps the expectations low. And then if they go too high, then it's a problem.
Let's assume New Hampshire goes to Warren or Bernie, probably. And then South Carolina, let's say it goes to Biden. I mean, you're looking at a primary that gets really upended. I mean, it's still going to come down to Super Tuesday, which does include California this year, correct?
Right.
We've talked about it. I mean, it's probably mostly over by the time it reaches Wisconsin, but I don't know.
What Mayor Pete would need is a big win in Indiana and some very high-profile endorsements. Right. Now, there's a few wild cards here. We're talking about Bloomberg's talking about getting in.
I don't think he's going to
even Sherrod Brown might be. I do think that there's movement toward replacing Biden and or Sanders.
AOC is going to endorse Bernie at a big event in a few days.
Okay.
And so that's going to keep his campaign running. It's going to raise some money for him. It's going to keep him going for a time. But I do think the health scare is going to swing a lot of voters. Picture Mayor Pete versus Trump in a debate. The whole idea
of... Mayor Pete's got no experience is what he'll say because he's just the mayor of a small city in Indiana, South Bend.
That's what Trump will say.
Right, yeah. While he was on The Apprentice, Mayor Pete was busy serving the country in Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a war he didn't even agree with. Yeah. But he was there because of a sense of duty to his country.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat that.
So so it's all very fluid, obviously, right now. But I thought, the debate
Yeah, Pete's our flavor of the month.
Yeah, seems to be. This is one to keep an eye on, just given what's going on in Iowa.
I'm Warren too. I'm still liking Warren a lot.
Bernie and Biden fading.
Yeah, I think so.
But Bernie will get a boost out of the AOC endorsement. They'll at least keep it.
Keep an eye on Sherrod Brown.
The field is set. He's not jumping.
And then Bloomberg.
Nope.
Watch out.
Nope.
All right.
Tom Steyer's already in it. It's not happening.
All right. So speaking of which, we got a county executive race.
Yeah. So breaking news today here in the great county of Milwaukee. Chris Abele not running for re-election after serving 2 terms.
I know, because he's running for president. Another billionaire.
No, I don't know. I don't know why he's not running again, to be honest. I mean, he did demolish that historic mansion in Shorewood and is rebuilding on it.
He might have felt a little bit politically vulnerable, but here's what this does. It shakes up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because you may have 1 or 2 mayoral candidates drop out of the mayoral race.
Yeah, you could see Tony Zielinski
Lena
maybe.
and Tony running. Yeah. Either one could make a pretty strong candidate for county executive. Mm-hmm. Lena's already disclaimed it and said no, but you never know with Lena.
Abele's always been kind of a third-way candidate, coming in on the heels of the Walker administration at the county level before he became governor.
You were saying Tony would be like that too?
I think so, in a different way.
Very different way. But he's very populist, more.
He is, but he's liberal on a lot of issues. But he was against the streetcar. He's kind of carved out.
He's kind of reactionary on some things. I mean, he's got his Blue Lives Matter stuff going on too.
I mean, he was a county supervisor for a while during the pension scandal, and that could maybe tarnish his
I think that's ancient history. So a number of candidates have clearly expressed interest so far.
Yeah, Chris Larson probably.
Chris Larson is the one who's the most clear. Also, Chevy Johnson, and he goes by Chevy usually, but I think on the ballot he might be Cavalier. He's a really good guy, as far as I know. Represents the north side at the city council level. I do think he has some ties to the Abele administration, and he seemed to have the most articulate vision when presented with Abele being vacant, so he might have had a tip-off.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your eye on him.
Okay.
Brian Kennedy was hinting at it out of Glendale. I like Brian. I know him personally. I don't think he could win. Sheldon Wasserman, Theo Lipscomb, the county board chair, is thinking about running. And then people have asked Marina Dmitrievich. She's been pretty clear that she's not taking any stances yet.
Well, I think she's probably in a pretty good position to win the automatic seat.
Probably. I mean, but she's thinking. She's not. I don't think she's thinking about it, but I do think she's. I don't think anybody's going to say anything until they start seeing the field settle out.
Yes.
It does look like Larson's in.
He ran last time, so why wouldn't he? Why would he run against an incumbent?
Nicholson is another one who's kind of an ally of a lot of these people, and she was quoted in the paper. So I would say most likely Larson's a yes, and Lipscomb's a yes, and Chevy Johnson is a yes.
Okay. I'm sure by the time we record next week, some of these questions will be answered. So,
last but not least, I just want to draw everybody's attention to, as much as we're interested in this Democratic nomination, and one of the reasons I keep throwing candidates out is look at the Moody's analytics. It's a little inside baseball, but they're saying Trump could win or will win, likely. But one thing they did show was that with historic turnout, we should be able to win.
Well, that's why the last presidential election, their model failed to account for the high turnout.
That's right. It's not a perfect model.
Yeah.
And now they're saying back-testing their model, which is kind of ridiculous. It's like saying, we didn't think Aaron Rodgers was going to throw a touchdown because there was an unanticipated route the receiver ran, and our defender wasn't in the right place.
That kind of speaks to the fact that your model kind of sucks.
Yeah. You're supposed to figure that out.
Well, we didn't know that many people were going to vote. Well,
right.
You have to accommodate for fluctuations.
So take it with a grain of salt, probably. But it does. The one thing I would say is the high turnout model, I do think, is about right in the sense that I think this is a winnable presidential race, but I don't think we're going to get a lot of help outside of Wisconsin. I think that Wisconsin's probably the high water mark for what we win. We might win Wisconsin considerably, but I think that states that add up to the red base for Trump are pretty much not movable, and that includes Ohio right now, Florida.
Ohio is actually looking increasingly likely.
That might be the best bet. Ohio, but otherwise, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and Arizona, they just don't look like they're ready to flip yet. If there's one that were to flip, it might be actually Ohio, interestingly, because there appears to be some buyers for Morris on Trump in the upper Midwest, northern Rust Belt states. So, which is one reason that Mayor Pete does seem to have even more appeal. But anyway.
For sure. All right, folks.
Forward.